They said I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. So they erased me, stole my inheritance, and rewrote my father's legacy without me. But I found the real Will, exposed the fraud, and turned their lies into legal fire. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about taking back what was yours all along, even if they made you feel like you never belonged. Hi, my name is Lena, I'm 34 years old, and I work as a real estate flipper. For 5 years, I watched my family celebrate Christmas without me, in the house I once called home. I was erased, discarded, and humiliated. But this year, I showed up, not as a guest, but as the new owner. They said it was an oversight, that the invite must have gotten lost in the mail. But the truth sat heavy in the silence of my phone that year. No texts, no calls, not even a Merry Christmas forwarded message from Mom. I remember standing at the bakery counter, hands trembling as I picked out a peppermint cheesecake I wouldn't get to share. I had wrapped gifts weeks in advance, labeling each one with names I now realize never had space for mine. It wasn't a fight that started it. It wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. My younger sister, Elise, the golden child, the one with the sorority laugh and Pinterest-perfect photos, had decided that I brought down the mood. Her words. Not mine. And somehow, that single accusation from her became my exile. Mom didn't defend me. Dad didn't even call. Not even my cousin Jeremy, who used to cry when I left summer camp early, sent a damn text. I sat alone in my studio apartment, the one I could barely afford, with cracked tile and heat that clicked instead of warming, staring at my TV screen as their family photo slideshow streamed on Facebook. Matching pajamas. Champagne flutes. My chair, the one I built in woodshop in high school, taken by Elise's new fiancé. I spent that Christmas watching them celebrate like I never existed. The next year, it happened again. And again. And again. 5 years. 5 brutal winters of silence and sugar-coated rejection. 5 years of Instagram captions with "so grateful for family" while my name went unspoken. And every time, I wanted to scream. Because I wasn't the black sheep. I wasn't the one who caused drama, or stole, or lied. I was the one who made too little, who didn't have a boyfriend, who didn't wear enough makeup or smile in photos. They didn't like how I reminded them that family isn't always picture perfect. So, they cut me out, like a bad ornament they didn't want on the tree. But I didn't beg. I didn't knock on their doors with gifts or apologies I didn't owe. I got to work. I stopped trying to be included and started building a world where they'd one day wish I was. And what none of them knew, not Elise, not Mom, not even smug little Jeremy, was that their sanctuary, the place they spend every holiday rubbing their perfection in the world's face, was slowly being lined up in my crosshairs. Because 5 years of silent exclusion had taught me one thing. The people who shut the door in your face never expect you to come back with the keys. But I did. And when I did, I didn't just walk through the front door. I owned it. After the first exclusion, I told myself it was a mistake. By the second, I knew it wasn't. Still, I clung to denial like it was a blanket in the cold, trying to believe that maybe they just forgot, that maybe I hadn't tried hard enough to stay close. But by the third Christmas, they had a group chat called the 25th Club. I only found out because Elise's fiancé, Trevor, a man whose charm was as fake as his veneers, accidentally posted a screenshot on his story. It was a text about who was bringing the eggnog, who was assigned to play Santa, and which dessert duties were being handled by who. Next to Lena? Blank. I wasn't even a punchline. I was just nothing. I sent Mom a message that year. "Hey, are we doing anything for the holidays?" She replied. "Oh, I thought you had to work. Elise told me you were swamped." Lies. Elise never asked me. Mom never confirmed. No one cared. They wanted me to miss it, because my absence was easier than my presence. My presence reminded them of real things. Of the time Dad got drunk and forgot my graduation. Of the way Mom always skipped my dance recitals but never Elise's cheer competitions. Of the time I paid rent for 3 months to help when Dad got laid off and never got a thank you. They loved Elise because she never reminded them of their failures. She sparkled, grinned, and glossed over every ugly truth. I was the mirror. And no one wants the mirror around at Christmas. So each year, I watch the updates from social media. Year 2, Elise gets engaged at the dinner table. Year 3, matching custom sweaters. Year 4, Jeremy's baby's first Christmas. Year 5, a family trip to Aspen. Aspen. I was working 10-hour shifts, reselling furniture, doing freelance web design on the side just to pay off my student loans. They knew I was struggling, and they flaunted their comfort like it was sport. I didn't even get a Merry Christmas that last year. That's when the switch flipped. I stopped looking at the photos. I stopped pretending. Instead, I started running numbers. You see, I had one thing no one in that house ever thought to take seriously. Focus. I may not have been pretty enough for their holiday cards. But I was dangerous when I had a plan. And I had a plan. Because that house, our house, the one my grandfather left in my father's name with instructions that it always stay in the family, that house wasn't just a memory. It was going up for sale. I found the real estate listing by accident. My name wasn't on the will, but I remembered the clause: if all named beneficiaries are deceased, the estate can be sold, provided all next of kin agree. And Dad had quietly passed a few months prior, no invite to the funeral either. Not even a text. Mom and Elise were the only ones who could greenlight the sale now. And they did. Of course they did. Probably thought the money would buy them a beach condo and more matching pajamas. What they didn't expect was me. With a 760 credit score, 2 investment partners, and a lawyer who owed me a favor. So while they toasted their new chapter, I was signing papers. To own their past. I used to believe it was something I did. Maybe I talked too much as a kid. Maybe I didn't smile wide enough in photos. Maybe I wasn't as delicate, as agreeable, as camera-ready as Elise, my sister who could cry on cue and never missed a hair appointment. I used to count the ways I might have offended them. Too blunt? Too ambitious? Too me? But the truth hit me the day I saw an old family video tucked away on a VHS tape I rescued from a box in storage. It was labeled Elise's 10th birthday. But halfway through, the camcorder caught a moment not meant to be filmed, the audio just barely clear. Dad. Don't bother wrapping one for Lena. She doesn't notice when she's left out. Mom. It's easier. She doesn't make a scene. Easier. That's what I was to them. An easy exclusion. A name they could skip over without guilt because I wouldn't fight, wouldn't scream, wouldn't beg to be seen. Elise was the golden child, loud where I was quiet, needy where I was independent. They mistook silence for absence, strength for apathy. And Elise? She played her role to perfection. She once told a boyfriend, loud enough for me to hear, "Lena's just jealous. She always thought she deserved more." I didn't respond. But I wrote it down. Because I wanted to remember how much they underestimated me. As the sale of the house crept forward, they didn't even blink. Elise signed the agreement through a digital document at a yoga retreat in Bali. Mom forwarded the deed to the broker with a happy face emoji. The house had 5 bedrooms, an attic I once turned into a reading nook, and a patch of carpet in the hallway that still had a burn mark from when I dropped a curling iron at 13. They were selling the house, but they had already burned the bridges. By then, I'd flipped 6 properties, sold 2, and reinvested every dime. I wasn't rich. But I was dangerous. They didn't even notice the buyer's name on the paperwork. L. Hayes LLC. My holding company. When the final payment cleared, I didn't pop champagne. I didn't call a friend. I printed the deed, drove to the front gate, and stared at the place that raised me and rejected me. They had sold my childhood for comfort. I had just bought it back, with interest. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I had something planned for Christmas. And for the first time in 5 years, I was going home. I showed up unannounced 2 weeks before Christmas. The neighborhood hadn't changed much. Same perfectly trimmed hedges. Same overly polite neighbors who never asked questions. Same driveway where I once cried myself to sleep after prom, because Elise told Mom I'd try to steal her date. And Mom believed her. That's how it always was, Elise said. I paid. She lied. I apologized. She cried. I disappeared. They didn't need reasons. Just excuses to push me further away. When I stepped out of my car, the new key to the front door burned in my palm like a brand. It wasn't excitement I felt. It was just as simmering just beneath the surface. Inside, the furniture was still there. They hadn't moved out yet. Apparently, they thought the closing would take longer. I had expedited everything. Lawyers, title transfers, deposit schedules, all wrapped up faster than their annual fake smiles. Mom was in the kitchen, still using my ceramic mixing bowl, the one I bought her as a peace offering years ago. She turned when she heard the door. Her eyes squinted like she was seeing a ghost. "Lena? What are you doing here?" I dropped the paperwork on the counter. "You're trespassing." She laughed, assuming it was a joke. But I didn't flinch. "What are you talking about? I own this house now." The moment her eyes landed on the deed, color drained from her face. Elise walked in minutes later with her boyfriend, who looked at me like I was the help, and made a comment I'll never forget. "Mom, why is the cleaning lady holding papers?" That broke something in me. Not just rage, it was clarity. They had rewritten reality so many times, they couldn't even recognize me as family anymore. So I gave them the 72-hour notice I wasn't legally required to give. "You have 3 days to get out." Elise screamed. Mom cried. Her boyfriend? He called a lawyer. And I? I went to the attic and sat in the reading nook I built with my own hands at 16. They had stolen 5 years of holidays. 5 years of joy. 5 years of pretending I was the issue. And I had just taken it all back. But this wasn't revenge. This was step 1. 3 days later, on Christmas morning, the house was silent. No carols. No laughter. No matching pajamas. Just me, standing barefoot in the living room they used to decorate like a showroom. The fireplace crackled with real warmth, not the artificial smiles I used to force while Elise unwrapped gifts worth more than my tuition. They were gone. Not quietly, of course. Mom left crying. Elise left cursing. Her boyfriend threatened lawsuits, until his attorney confirmed the paperwork was airtight. They didn't even get to take the tree. It was mine too. Bought and paid for by L. Hayes LLC. I didn't have decorations or gifts. I didn't need them. My gift was the silence. I walked room to room with a cup of coffee, remembering every Christmas where I sat at the kids' table alone, or was told I made things awkward, or that Elise deserved more because she tried harder. Funny, she never tried when it came to rent. Or bills. Or owning her mistakes. But now she'd get to try something new, a year in a rental apartment with her boyfriend, no car, it was under my name, after all, and a mom who couldn't stop blaming her for letting Lena get the upper hand. They had no idea the upper hand was forged in every moment they ignored me. The house felt different now. Not just because they were gone, but because for the first time, it was mine by choice, not by default. I lit the fireplace, cooked dinner for one, and sat in the dining room chair Elise used to ban me from because her friends were over. Then I posted one photo to my social media, me, alone, smiling, in front of the tree. Caption, "Home for the holidays." The comment section exploded. Cousins messaged me. Old friends. Even a few distant relatives who knew what had been happening but stayed silent all these years. Some asked how I pulled it off. I didn't answer. Because revenge doesn't need applause. It just needs to land. By noon, the group chat had become a digital war zone. It started with a single message from my cousin Hannah. "Wait. Is Lena back at the house? Didn't Elise say it was being renovated?" Followed by my Aunt Linda. "Just saw Lena's post. That's definitely the old living room. Elise?" Then it spiraled. Elise, never one to back down, tried her usual deflection. "Long story. Lena's being petty. It's complicated." But Mom jumped in faster than usual. "No, Elise. You lost us the house. Just admit it." Boom. I wasn't even in the chat. I'd been removed years ago after calling out Elise's lies in a family thread and being told I was ruining the vibe. But thanks to my cousin Mark, who screenshotted everything, I had a front row seat. Mark sent them to me in batches like he was sending me ammunition. "You're gonna love this one," smiley face emoji. "Elise just said she was blindsided. Didn't you warn her? Your mom is flipping. Like full meltdown." Apparently, Elise had told the family the house was under temporary construction and that they were just staying in an Airbnb nearby for fun. She didn't expect the post to go viral in our local community's Facebook group. People were sharing it. People were celebrating it. I became that woman, the one who took back what was hers. Even strangers messaged me. Some said, "You give me hope." Others asked, "Is this real?" One woman even shared, "My daughter is going through something similar. Thank you." But the best moment? When Elise finally snapped in the chat. She stole our house. And Aunt Linda, sweet, soft-spoken Linda, replied with surgical precision. She didn't steal anything. She bought it. You just didn't see it coming because you never believed she could win. That one? I framed it. Because that's the moment I knew. They weren't just mad that I took the house. They were mad that I had it in me all along, and they were too blind, too selfish, too cruel to notice. And now, the only thing louder than their silence? Was everyone else cheering for me. It happened sooner than I thought. 3 days after Christmas, a video went viral on TikTok, grainy, shaky footage from someone inside a boutique cafe downtown. In it, Elise stood at the counter, screaming at the barista. Over almond milk. Yes, almond milk. I said, steamed. Do you even know who I am? The video caption? Rich girl loses her mansion and her mind, nail polish emoji. She wasn't tagged, but oh, the internet works fast. By the time I saw it, the comments were already flooded with people quoting my post. Is this the Christmas girl? Home for the holidays hits different, smiley face emoji. I hope Lena's drinking her coffee in peace. My inbox lit up again. Cousins. Former classmates. Even old co-workers. The ones who used to pity me. Now? They wanted to interview me. One journalist reached out. Would you be open to sharing your story? It's empowering. A woman taking back her place, standing up for herself against a toxic family. Our readers need this. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I let the silence work for me, just like they did all those years. Meanwhile, Elise spiraled. She posted cryptic Instagram stories, deleted half her photos, unfollowed half the family, and finally, she called me. Blocked number. I knew it was her. I answered with one word. Yes? She was crying. Or trying to make it sound like she was. You didn't have to humiliate me, she said. We're family. I stayed quiet. It's Christmas, Lena. We should be together. Oh, now she remembers. I asked calmly, what did you eat last year on Christmas? She hesitated. I don't remember. Of course you don't, I replied. Because I wasn't there. And no one cared. Then I hung up. Let her sit in the silence she once gifted me. Let her taste the loneliness she seasoned every holiday for me. And as for the public? They weren't done. More videos popped up. A friend of a friend leaked a text chain showing Elise complaining about my psycho sister who bought our house just to make a point. One of her exes even chimed in on Reddit, writing. Karma came with closing costs. Iconic. I didn't plan for any of this. But watching Elise unravel while I rebuilt my peace? That was the Christmas miracle. The day after New Year's, I was sitting by the fireplace in my living room, yes, the same one Elise had once banned me from walking into with outside shoes, when the doorbell rang. It wasn't a delivery. It wasn't a neighbor. It was Aunt Carla, my dad's youngest sister. The only family member who never played favorites, but who also vanished from the picture after my father died. She looked nervous. Awkward. Like someone unsure if they were welcome. I saw the story, she said. I didn't know what to say, so I let her in. She stood there, taking in the photos on the wall, the bookshelves, the quiet. Feels like your dad again, she whispered. I haven't felt that in years. We sat at the kitchen table. The same one Mom had sold before I could even ask for it back. I had repurchased it from an estate seller, one of the many silent victories I never told anyone about. And Carla told me the real story. They pushed me out too, she said. After your dad died, your mom said I was too emotional and didn't fit the new family narrative. Elise was already in charge. She said it was bad for your image. I almost laughed. She told me how she'd tried to keep tabs on me over the years, through old friends, birthday cards that were never delivered. She never stopped caring. She just wasn't allowed in. And now? She was sitting in my kitchen, crying, holding my hand. And for the first time in over a decade, I felt like I had a family again. The next week, Mark came by. Then Hannah. Then Aunt Linda. They all came, slowly, cautiously, not because of the house, but because they saw something else. Me. The real me. Not the quiet one. Not the scapegoat. Not the problem child. But the woman who turned silence into strategy. Who made brokenness look like blueprints. And the best part? They didn't bring pity. They brought respect. We planned Sunday dinners. We laughed. We told old stories. We imagined a new kind of family, not defined by blood, but by boundaries, love, and survival. Elise watched from afar, of course. Still tried to stir things with cryptic posts and forced smiles and curated selfies. But no one cared anymore. She wasn't the sun we orbited. She was just another star fading in the distance, while I built a galaxy of my own. The lawsuit took over a year to prepare. But I was patient. I had spent most of my life waiting on others, for fairness, for validation, for inclusion. This time, I controlled the timeline. My attorney, Bethany, was brilliant. Calm. Ruthless when she needed to be. She called the case emotional, but winnable. "We're not just suing for property," she said. "We're suing for erasure." We compiled everything. The forged car transfer. The unauthorized room renovation. The fake signatures on my school withdrawal documents, yes, they actually went that far. And Elise's digital footprints, the posts, the texts, the smug little interviews she gave back when she thought I'd stay silent. When my mother was served, she didn't even try to contact me. She let her lawyer speak, a gray-haired man with a smirk that looked like it was glued on. "This is a family misunderstanding," he said. "Surely we don't need a trial." Bethany smiled right back. "Your clients made it legal. Now we're just finishing the job." The courtroom was packed. Small-town drama meets high-stakes scandal. It was all too juicy for the locals to resist. I caught a few familiar faces in the gallery. Some who used to avoid me. Some who used to whisper. Now? They watched like it was primetime TV. My mother took the stand first. She looked frail, like she was trying to age 10 years overnight for sympathy. "I only did what I thought was best," she said. Lena was always so unstable. I felt the words like acid in my chest. But then Bethany pulled up the birthday card I had sent the year I got evicted, the one returned to me, unopened, with return to sender scribbled in Elise's handwriting. "This unstable daughter," Bethany asked, "still sent you cards every year?" Silence. "Did you ever send one back?" More silence. Then Elise took the stand. She was cocky at first. Glossy, polished. Like she thought she could charm the jury. She always wanted what I had. That's the truth. Bethany pulled out a series of emails Elise sent to realtors in my name, back when she was trying to sell Dad's second property, the one that was supposed to go to me in the original will. The room went still. Bethany turned to the judge. "We request punitive damages. This was not miscommunication. This was manipulation, identity fraud, and targeted emotional sabotage." The judge took 2 weeks to deliberate. 2 long weeks. When the verdict came, I was sitting alone. I didn't invite anyone to come. I didn't need a cheering squad. I just needed justice. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Lena Thompson. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I exhaled. A decade of silence, gaslighting, exclusion, acknowledged. Official. On record. They were ordered to pay damages. I was granted full legal control over the estate. Elise was even barred from using my name or likeness in any public content for 10 years. I walked out of that courtroom taller than I'd ever felt. Not because I won money. Because I won myself. The money didn't fix everything. The property didn't either. But for the first time in my life, I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I didn't need to explain why I was hurt. Or beg to be heard. I owned my name. My legacy. My story. I restored the old farmhouse that had been in our family for generations, the one Elise tried to flip for cash behind my back. I didn't just renovate it. I preserved it. Painstakingly, room by room. The porch swing my dad built with his own hands? Still there. The ivy-covered trellis where he took Mom's engagement photo? Still there. But I replaced the nameplate at the gate. Where it once said the Bradshaw Estate in Elise's fancy rebrand, it now read. The Thompson House. Est. 1976. Reclaimed 2025. It wasn't just symbolic. It was a declaration. Every Sunday, I hosted open table brunches. Not as some performative gesture, but as a quiet, radical act of choosing connection over control. Friends, new family, neighbors I used to be invisible to, they all came. And none of them asked about Elise. Or my mother. Or the trial. They just asked how I was. I started writing again. The kind of essays my dad used to love. One even got picked up by a national publication. It was titled, "When You're Not the Golden Child, But You Become the Grown-Up." It went viral. People from around the world reached out with stories of being erased, undervalued, rewritten. And I replied to every single one. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted ripple effects. I wanted someone like me, sitting in some too quiet room, to read my words and feel a spark. That's how the real legacy grows, not from bloodlines, but from boundaries. Elise? She tried to bounce back. She rebranded, again. Moved to another city, launched a podcast called Resilience and Radiance. Cute. But the listeners dwindled. Her sponsors left. She wasn't cancelled. She was unplugged, her influence severed at the root. And my mother? She never apologized. But she knew. I ran into her once at the local bookstore. She tried to look away. But I didn't. I nodded. She froze. Then nodded back. It wasn't forgiveness. It was closure. Cold, clean, and irreversible. And as I walked out of that bookstore, someone stopped me in the parking lot. "Hey. Are you Lena Thompson?" I turned. "I read your story. You gave me the courage to file my own case. Thank you." I smiled. A real one. Because I wasn't just the black sheep anymore. I was the one who burned the old pasture down, and planted something new in the ashes.